Why did the man who had the world at his feet sound like he was all alone in it? Did the roar of the crowd just make the silence in his hotel room that much louder? I think Elvis Presley in the 1970s was a paradox. He was bigger than life, a living legend in a white jumpsuit. But the music he made in those years, the ballads especially, told a different story. It was the story of a man grappling with heartbreak, isolation, and the crushing weight of his own myth. The songs weren't just performances. They were confessions, and if you listen closely to the words, really listen, they will break your heart. Number 19 was This the Final Goodbye, and Elvis recorded his last two studio albums from Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, and Moody Blue, not in a state-of-the-art studio in Nashville or Hollywood, but in his own home, in the living room to be exact. In a room he called the Jungle Room. By early 1976, his health was so poor and his reluctance to leave the sanctuary of Graceland was so great that RCA had to bring a mobile recording studio to him. They ran cables through the house and set up a control room in a separate truck parked outside. The man who had once electrified the world couldn't or wouldn't go to work. So work came to him. He weighed over 250 pounds at this point. His diet was famously destructive. His body was failing. And he had just over a year left to live, though no one knew it for sure. It was in this setting, surrounded by his own furniture and his own ghosts, that he sang some of his last songs. One of the most haunting performances from these final sessions was his cover of Unchained Melody. He recorded it on April 24th, 1977 for a TV special, just a couple of months before he died. He's on stage, but he sits at the piano himself, something he rarely did in his later years. He looks bloated and tired. He's sweating heavily under the lights. He seems to be struggling to even sit upright. But then he starts to sing, and the voice, that incredible instrument, cuts through everything. It's raw. It's desperate. It's the sound of a man running out of time. He pours every last ounce of his energy into it. He knew, on some level, that this was the end of the line. The power he summons is astonishing, a final, defiant roar from a wounded lion. And in the middle of this epic, desperate plea, he sings a line that feels less like part of a song and more like a simple, devastating statement of fact. And time can do so much. It's not the most poetic line. It's not clever. It's just true. And coming from him at that moment, it's a punch to the gut. The line is about love, about how time can change feelings. But for Elvis in 1977, it's about everything. Time had made him a king. Time had given him everything a man could want, and time was now taking it all away. It was destroying his body. It was clouding his mind. It was leaving him isolated in his own mansion. The way he sings it isn't with anger or regret. It's with a kind of weary acceptance. The fight is over. Time is winning. He knows it. And he wants you to know it too. It's the sound of surrender. Number 18, How Much Pain Can One Voice Hold? The song Hurt was not an Elvis original. It was first a hit for singer Timmy Euro in 1961. But when Elvis decided to cover it in 1976, he didn't just sing it. He inhabited it. He ripped it open and bled all over it. He recorded it during those same Jungle Room sessions on February 5th, 1976. The session was reportedly difficult. Elvis was in a dark mood. He struggled with the vocals, but he was determined to get it right. He wanted to create a masterpiece of pain, and he succeeded. The finished record is a towering monument to anguish. It's almost operatic in its intensity. The band is huge. The backing vocals are dramatic. But it's all just a stage for Elvis's voice. He screams, he begs, he pleads. He sounds like a man being torn apart from the inside. On stage, the performance was even more extreme. There are stories of him throwing himself so completely into the song that he would seem physically drained afterward. During one show in March 1976, he delivered such a powerful closing note that he reportedly split his jumpsuit and, according to some accounts from band members, momentarily lost his balance and fell near the stage steps as the curtain came down. He was pushing his body and his voice to their absolute limits. Why? Because the song was a perfect vehicle for the pain he was feeling. He wasn't just performing. He was exercising his demons in front of a paying audience. The song is full of devastating lines, but the simplest one is the most effective. It's the opening statement, the thesis for the entire emotional breakdown that follows. I'm hurt, much more than you'll ever know. He sings it with a chilling clarity before the storm of the chorus hits. It's a confession. He's telling Priscilla. He's telling his father. He's telling his fans. He's telling the world. You see the jumpsuit. You see the smile. You see the legend. But you don't see the real me. You don't see the agony. The line separates the man from the myth. The myth was invincible. The myth was the king. But the man was just a man. And he was hurt. The beauty of the line is its simplicity. He's not trying to be poetic. He's trying to be understood. He's reaching out from behind the wall of fame and fortune, trying to make a connection. He's saying, please, see me. See the pain. It's a cry for help disguised as a power ballad. Number 17, Can a Father Explain a Broken Home? By the time Elvis recorded I'm Boy in December 1973 at Stax Studios in Memphis, his divorce from Priscilla had been finalized for just over a year. He missed his daughter, Lisa Marie, terribly. His time with her was limited, and he felt the distance growing. The song, which was originally a French pop song, tells the story of a father on the verge of leaving his wife. He looks at his sleeping son and struggles with how to explain the situation, how to justify breaking up their family. For Elvis, this was not an abstract concept. It was his life. He wasn't just singing a song, he was singing his own story. The recording session was reportedly emotional. Elvis connected so deeply with the material that it was almost too painful for him to sing. He knew that every word would be interpreted through the lens of his own recent divorce. He was laying his private grief bare for public consumption. The song is a delicate balance of love for his child and sorrow over his failing marriage. The father in the song doesn't blame anyone. He's just sad and lost, and he's terrified of hurting his son. The lyrics are a direct address to the child, a quiet, desperate explanation for a decision that will change the child's life forever. The entire song is heartbreaking, a glimpse into the impossible conversations that happen when a family falls apart. But one line stands out as the core of Elvis's own feelings, the central truth of his life after Priscilla left. It's the reason he kept going, the reason he endured the grind of the tours and the loneliness of the road. You are the reason I go on. He's singing to the child in the song, but everyone knew he was singing to Lisa Marie. She was his anchor. She was the one pure, untarnished thing in a life that had become impossibly complicated. The love he had for his daughter was immense, and this line is a simple, powerful declaration of that love. It's a promise. No matter how bad things get, no matter how lonely I am, no matter how much pain I'm in, I will keep going for you. For a man who had everything, Lisa Marie was the one thing that truly mattered. This line isn't about being the king of rock and roll. It's not about fame or money. It's about being a father. And it's one of the most honest and vulnerable moments in his entire 70s catalog. Number 16, What Happens When the Phone Doesn't Ring? The album Promised Land, recorded at Stax in Memphis in December 1973, was a return to his roots. It was full of rock and roll, country, and blues. But it also contained one of his most devastating ballads about loneliness. It's Midnight. The song paints a bleak picture of a man sitting alone in his room, staring at the clock, waiting for a call that he knows will never come. The room is a prison. The silence is deafening. Every object in the room reminds him of her. It's a slow, methodical study of despair. This was Elvis's reality. He spent countless hours in hotel suites after shows, surrounded by his entourage, but feeling completely alone. He was a nocturnal creature, often staying up all night, waiting for the sun to rise. The song captures that specific, hollow feeling of 3 a.m. loneliness. He's not angry. He's not even begging for her to come back. He's just empty, resigned to his fate. The music is sparse, led by a simple piano line that feels like a ticking clock, counting down the minutes to another lonely dawn. Elvis's voice is restrained, almost a whisper at times. He's not performing, he's confessing. He's letting you listen in on his private thoughts, his quiet desperation. The imagery is stark and powerful. The empty chair, the book she was reading, the silent telephone. It's a scene of domestic tragedy made all the more poignant by the fact that it was happening to the most famous man in the world. And then comes the line that sums up the entire agonizing weight. The flicker of hope that refuses to die even when you know it's hopeless. And the phone rings on the wall, but it's not for me you're calling. This is a gut punch of a lyric. It's the ultimate tease. For a split second, there's a jolt of hope. The silence is broken. Maybe it's her. Maybe she changed her mind. And then, in the very next phrase, that hope is crushed. It's a wrong number. It's someone else. It's a reminder that the world is moving on without you. Everyone else is connecting, talking, living. But you are still alone in your room, waiting. The cruelty of that false hope is almost worse than the silence that came before it. It's a tiny, sharp jab of pain in the middle of a long, dull ache. Elvis sings it with a sense of weary defeat. He's been through this before. He knows the drill. Hope rises, hope is crushed, and the wait continues. Number 15, Can You Be Lonely in a Crowd? In 1975, Elvis recorded the song Solitaire. It was written by Neil Sedaka and Phil Cody, but it might as well have been written about Elvis himself. The song is about a man who isolates himself from the world, playing a lonely game of cards, pretending that he doesn't need anyone. He keeps his curtains drawn, he doesn't answer the door, he's built a fortress around himself to keep from getting hurt again. But the fortress is also a prison. He's safe, but he's utterly alone. This was the story of Elvis's life in the 70s. Graceland was his fortress. His hotel suite in Las Vegas was his fortress. He was surrounded by people, the Memphis Mafia, but he was emotionally isolated. He had created a world where he was the king, but it was a very small and lonely kingdom. The song is a slow, mournful piano ballad. Elvis's vocal is understated and full of sorrow. He understands this character completely. He knows what it's like to push people away, to build walls, to pretend you're strong when you're falling apart inside. The metaphor of the card game is perfect. Life becomes a game you play against yourself, with no chance of winning, just passing the time until it's over. The man in the song is a tragic figure. He's chosen this life of isolation, but it's a choice born of pain. He's so afraid of being hurt again that he's opted for a living death, a life without connection or love. The lyric that captures this self-imposed exile most powerfully is about the one thing he can't escape, his own reflection. And a little hope goes up in smoke, just trying to get along. This line is devastating because it's about the daily grind of loneliness. It's not about a big dramatic moment of heartbreak. It's about the slow, quiet erosion of hope. Every day you wake up and you try. You try to pretend you're okay. You try to find a reason to keep going. You might even have a small flicker of optimism, a little bit of hope that things might get better. But then reality sets in. The loneliness, the emptiness, it all comes rushing back. And that little bit of hope is extinguished like a puff of smoke. Gone. The phrase, just trying to get along, is so plain, so ordinary. That's what makes it so sad. He's not trying to conquer the world. He's not trying to find epic love. He's just trying to survive another day. And even that is a losing battle. Number 14, What Does a King Regret? Always on My Mind is now one of Elvis's most iconic ballads, but when it was released in 1972, it was the B-side to the single Separate Ways. It was recorded in March 1972 at RCA's Hollywood Studios, just a few weeks after Elvis and Priscilla had officially separated. The timing is crucial. This wasn't just another love song for Elvis, this was his response to the end of his marriage. The song is a confession, an apology, and a plea for understanding. It's a man looking back at a relationship and realizing all the things he should have done, all the words he should have said. It's a song drowning in regret. The recording is simple and direct. There are no vocal theatrics. Elvis sings it straight from the heart, his voice filled with a genuine, palpable sadness. He's not making excuses. He's admitting his failures. He was busy. He was distracted. He was the king of rock and roll. And in the process, he neglected the person who mattered most. The song's power comes from its honesty. Every line is a small admission of guilt or recognition of a missed opportunity. He didn't hold her. He didn't say he loved her. He didn't buy her flowers. It's a list of all the little things that make a relationship work, all the little things he failed to do. The song became an anthem for anyone who has ever taken someone for granted and lived to regret it. But the most gut-wrenching moment comes when he sums up his entire failure in one simple, devastating admission. Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. The word maybe is what makes it so perfect. It's a man who is still struggling to fully accept his own blame. The quite as good is a classic understatement. He knows he treated her badly. He knows he failed her, but he can't bring himself to say it directly. So he softens it, qualifies it, but the truth is there, lurking behind the gentle phrasing. He's admitting his fault, but he's doing it in a way that feels so human, so real. It's the way people talk when they know they've messed up, but are afraid to face the full consequences. He's not a king in that moment. He's just a man who lost the woman he loved and knows, deep down, that it was his own fault. Number 13, How Do You Say Goodbye When You Don't Want to? Released in the fall of 1972, Separate Ways was the A-side of the single that featured Always on My Mind. It was recorded during the same sessions and deals with the same subject, the end of his marriage to Priscilla. But where Always on My Mind is a song of regret, Separate Ways is a song of sad, reluctant acceptance. It's about the moment when two people realize that no matter how much they might still care for each other, they just can't make it work. The song is a conversation, a final, painful discussion about how to move forward. The primary concern in the lyrics is not for the couple themselves, but for their child. You know, how do we do this without hurting her? How do we explain that mommy and daddy don't live together anymore? Again, this was not fiction for Elvis. This was his life. He was living these lyrics. The song is filled with a sense of weary resignation. The fight is over. The decision has been made. Now comes the hard part, picking up the pieces. Elvis sings it with a heavy heart. His voice is deep and somber. There's no anger, no bitterness, just a profound sense of loss. He's mourning the death of his family, the end of the life he had built with Priscilla. The melody is gentle, almost like a lullaby, which makes the subject matter even more heartbreaking. It's a quiet, dignified surrender to the inevitable, and the line that perfectly captures this feeling of shared sorrow and responsibility is the one that opens the song. We can't go on together with Suspicious Minds. He's quoting his own classic hit from 1969. Suspicious Minds was the song that capped his triumphant comeback. It was a song about saving a relationship, about overcoming doubt and mistrust. It was a song of hope. Now, just 3 years later, he's referencing that same song to declare that the battle is lost. The Suspicious Minds have won. They couldn't overcome the doubt. They couldn't bridge the gap. It's an incredibly clever and poignant piece of songwriting. It connects his moment of greatest professional triumph with his moment of greatest personal failure. It's a confession that the optimism of 1969 was misplaced. The love they were trying to save couldn't be saved. And that simple self-referential line carries the weight of all that lost hope. Number 12, Can Fame Feel Like a Punishment? Marty Robbins wrote and recorded You Gave Me a Mountain in 1969. It was a song about a man whose life is a series of unrelenting hardships. He loses his mother, his father, his wife, and he is left to face life's struggles alone. When Elvis started performing the song live in the early 70s, it became a centerpiece of his show. He imbued it with a sense of epic personal tragedy. For Elvis, the mountain wasn't just everyday hardship. It was the crushing weight of his own fame. He had been given this incredible gift, this life beyond anyone's wildest dreams. But with it came immense pressure, isolation, and a loss of personal freedom. Every triumph seemed to bring a new burden. Every blessing felt like it came with a curse. His live performances of the song were pure theater. He would build the song from a quiet spoken word intro to a massive roaring climax. He acted out the pain, using his hands, his face, his entire body to convey the struggle. The audience would go wild. They saw it as a performance, but for Elvis, it was real. He felt that he had been given a mountain to climb, a burden to carry. He felt that his fame, the very thing everyone adored him for, was slowly killing him. He was trapped by his own image, a prisoner in a golden cage. The song allowed him to express these feelings of frustration and despair in a way that was both dramatic and deeply personal. The line that hits the hardest is the one where he confronts the source of his gifts and his pain. "You gave me a mountain you know I may never climb." He sings it as an accusation. He's talking to God or to fate or to whatever force in the universe made him Elvis Presley. It's a cry of anguish. Why did you do this to me? Why did you give me this impossible task? The phrase, "you know I may never climb," is key. It's not just that the mountain is high, it's that he was set up to fail. He was given a burden that was too heavy for any one person to carry. It's a moment of profound hopelessness. He sees the peak, but he knows he will never reach it. He's destined to keep climbing and to keep failing forever. For a man who was supposed to be the king of the world, this admission of powerlessness is absolutely devastating. Number 11, Can You Inherit a Broken Heart? Hank Williams, the hillbilly Shakespeare, was one of Elvis's earliest musical heroes. His songs of heartbreak and loneliness were a blueprint for the country and blues music that Elvis loved. In 1971, for the album Elvis Country, I'm 10,000 Years Old, Elvis paid tribute to his roots by recording a collection of country classics. Among them was his version of Hank Williams' signature song, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. It's one of the saddest songs ever written. The lyrics paint a picture of a world that is completely indifferent to the singer's pain. The whippoorwill, the robin, the moon, the falling star, they are all just going about their business, amplifying his sense of total isolation. Elvis doesn't try to reinvent the song. He sings it with a deep, abiding respect for the original. His version is slower, more mournful. The sound of his voice, deep and rich, adds a different kind of weight to the lyrics. Where Hank Williams sounded fragile, on the verge of breaking, Elvis sounds like a giant who has been brought to his knees. He's not just sad, he's weary. The loneliness has settled deep into his bones. He recorded this at a time when his marriage was beginning to crumble, when the initial rush of his comeback was starting to fade, and the long, lonely grind of the 70s was setting in. He understood this song on a cellular level. It was the music of his youth, but it was also the story of his present. The most chilling line in the song is a masterpiece of poetic despair, a perfect image of a world drained of all life and color. The silence of a falling star lights up a purple sky. It's a beautiful line, but it's also terrifying. A falling star is a fleeting, silent event. It's a tiny streak of light in an endless darkness. And for that to be the only thing that lights up your world is a profound statement of emptiness. The purple sky adds to the sense of eerie, unnatural twilight. It's not a hopeful dawn or a peaceful night. It's a strange in-between state of being, a world where the only light comes from something that is dying. When Elvis sings it, you can feel the chill. You can picture him, alone in a hotel room, looking out the window at a silent, indifferent city, feeling as small and as fleeting as that falling star. It's a moment of pure existential dread. Number 10, is there a moment when you know it's truly over? Roy Orbison was another of Elvis's contemporaries, a fellow Sun Records alumnus who specialized in songs of operatic despair. In 1973, Elvis began performing Orbison's 1964 hit, It's Over. The song is a brutal, final farewell. There is no hope of reconciliation. There is no chance of getting back together. It is a cold, hard, definitive ending. The relationship is dead, and the singer is performing the autopsy. It's a song that requires incredible vocal control, moving from a low, mournful whisper to a soaring, powerful climax. It was a perfect showcase for Elvis's remarkable voice in his later years. Even as his body was failing, his voice remained a force of nature. He performed the song during his landmark Aloha from Hawaii satellite broadcast in January 1973. It was a moment of triumph. He was at the peak of his 70s fame, a global superstar in his iconic white jumpsuit. But in the middle of this spectacular celebration of his own legend, he chose to sing this song of absolute finality. His divorce from Priscilla had been filed. The end of his marriage was now a legal reality. When he sang, "It's Over," he wasn't just singing about a fictional breakup. He was singing about the end of a major chapter in his own life. The performance is electrifying. He pours all of his pain and frustration into the song. He is not just sad, he's defiant. He's accepting the end and daring the world to watch him do it. The line that cuts the deepest is the one that acknowledges the finality of it all. Your baby's gone, he's gone, you're on your own. He sings it with such power and conviction. He's not just saying the words, he's declaring them. The repetition of "he's gone" is like a hammer blow, driving the point home. And the final phrase, "you're on your own," is so cold, so brutal. It's the simple, unvarnished truth of a breakup. The partnership is dissolved. The support system is gone. You are now alone. He's singing it to the woman in the song. But you can't help but feel he's also singing it to himself. Priscilla is gone. That part of his life is over. And he, the king, is on his own. It's a moment of shocking vulnerability, a public declaration of a private loss, broadcast live to 1 billion people around the world. Number 9. What does love feel like after it's gone? For the Good Times was a massive hit for Ray Price in 1970, written by the great Chris Christopherson. It's a song about the morning after a final night together. Two lovers are about to part for good, and the singer is pleading for one last moment of kindness, one last memory to hold on to. It's a song about a mature, dignified, and incredibly sad ending. There's no anger or blame, just a deep sense of melancholy and a desire to part on good terms. Elvis recorded his version in 1972 for the album Elvis as Recorded at Madison Square Garden. It was a staple of his live shows during the period when his own marriage was ending. The song's themes of gentle farewell and lingering affection clearly resonated with him. His performance is a model of restraint. He sings it in his low register, his voice warm and intimate. He sounds like he's whispering the words directly into your ear. It's a quiet, personal moment in the middle of a massive rock and roll show. He's not the king in that moment. He's just a man saying a difficult goodbye. The song is filled with a sense of nostalgia for a love that is already gone, even though the other person is still in the room. He's already mourning what he's about to lose. The lyrics are a masterclass in subtlety and emotional honesty. But the most poignant line is the one that perfectly captures the bittersweet nature of the moment. It's a request, a plea, and a sad acknowledgement of the truth. Lay your head upon my pillow, hold your warm and tender body close to mine. It's such a simple, physical request. It's not about passion, it's about comfort, it's about the need for human connection, even at the very end. The words warm and tender are so gentle, so full of affection. He's not trying to win her back, he's just trying to feel her presence one last time. He wants to memorize the feeling of her next to him, to have one last good memory to carry with him into the lonely future. It's a line that acknowledges the physical reality of a breakup. It's not just an emotional separation. It's a physical one. And the loss of that simple, everyday intimacy is one of the most painful parts of a relationship ending. And Elvis sings it with a quiet desperation that will wreck you. Number 8, Can You Lose Yourself While Trying to Find Your Way Home? Kentucky Rain was recorded in 1969 and released in early 1970. It was one of the first great ballads of his new decade. The song, written by Eddie Rabbitt and Dick Hurd, is a story of a desperate search. The singer is walking and hitchhiking through the cold Kentucky rain, looking for a woman who has left him. He doesn't know why she left, he just knows he has to find her. The song has a driving, relentless rhythm, like the man's desperate, forward-moving search. Ronnie Millsap's brilliant piano playing propels the song, giving it a sense of urgency and momentum. Where Elvis's vocal is a tour de force, he's pleading, he's desperate, he's exhausted. You can feel the cold rain and the passing of time in his voice. The song is a mini-movie, a noir thriller set on a lonely highway. The details are vivid, the empty coal mines, the hollow logs, the passing trucks. The singer is pushing himself to the point of collapse, driven by a love that has become an obsession. He's lost in the wilderness, both literally and emotionally. He's searching for her, but he's also searching for himself, for the man he was before she left. It's a song about the desperate lengths we will go to when we've lost something precious. The entire song is a narrative of despair, but the line that truly captures his utter desolation comes as he stares into the headlights of a passing truck, hoping for a ride, hoping for a sign. But I've got to find her and tell her I love her, and I've been a fool. This is his motivation, his mantra. It's the reason he's putting himself through this ordeal. He's not just looking for her, he's looking for redemption. He needs to confess, he needs to admit his failure. The line, "and I've been a fool," is the key. He knows this is his fault. He drove her away, and now, in his desperation, he's finally ready to admit it. It's a moment of clarity in the middle of the storm. He's stripped of his pride, of his ego. He's just a man who has made a terrible mistake and is willing to do anything to fix it. The combination of love and regret in that one line is devastating. It's the classic story of not knowing what you have until it's gone, and the desperate, often futile, attempt to get it back. Number 7, what is the sound of a heartbreaking? In the summer of 1970, Elvis was back on top of the world. His comeback was a massive success. He was selling out showrooms in Las Vegas and was once again a major recording artist. But beneath the surface, the cracks were beginning to show. His marriage was under strain, and the pressures of his renewed fame were immense. In June, he went into the studio in Nashville and recorded the song "I've Lost You." It's a sweeping, dramatic ballad about the slow, painful realization that a relationship is dying. It's not about a sudden breakup. It's about the gradual, creeping distance between two people, the slow fading of a flame. The song builds and builds, the orchestra swelling, the backing vocals soaring, mirroring the singer's growing panic and desperation. Elvis's performance is breathtaking. He starts in a low, somber tone, his voice full of doubt and confusion. But as the song progresses, his voice rises in power and intensity until he is practically screaming in anguish. He's not just singing about losing her, he's experiencing it in real time. He's trying to hold on to something that is slipping through his fingers. The song perfectly captures that horrible, helpless feeling of watching a love affair die and being powerless to stop it. It's a song about the silence that falls between two people, the words left unsaid, the touches no longer given. And the most heartbreaking line is the one that describes the moment of final, terrible realization. It's the stillness of the phone in the morning that tells me you are gone. This line is so simple, so mundane, and yet so utterly devastating. It's not a dramatic confrontation, it's not a tearful goodbye, it's the silence, it's the absence of a familiar sound. The phone isn't ringing, the day is starting, but it's starting in a new empty way. It's a small detail that signifies a monumental change. Our life, as he knew it, is over. And the proof is in the silence. It's a powerful image of loneliness and finality. The world keeps moving, the morning comes, but his world has stopped. The quiet of that telephone is louder than any argument, more final than any goodbye. It's the sound of absence, and Elvis sings it with a sense of dawning horror that is impossible to forget. Number 6, Can a Rich Man Feel Poor? Fool was recorded in 1972 during the same sessions that produced Separate Ways and Always on My Mind. It's another song that deals directly with the pain of his divorce. The song, written by James Last and Carl Sigman, is about a man who has everything the world can offer: money, fame, possessions, but feels like a fool because he has lost the only thing that truly mattered: the woman he loves. He looks at his wealth and his success, and it all feels empty, meaningless. He would trade it all in a second to have her back. For Elvis, this was not an abstract sentiment. It was the literal truth of his life. He was the king. He lived in a mansion. He had more money than he could ever spend, but he was miserable. His success had become a taunt, a reminder of his personal failure. The song is a slow, sad waltz. Elvis's voice is filled with a deep, world-weary sorrow. He sounds like a man who has won the world but lost his soul. He's not angry, he's just empty. He's cataloging his possessions, his achievements, and finding them all wanting. The gold and silver, the diamonds and pearls, they are all just cold, hard objects. They can't offer comfort. They can't fill the emptiness in his heart. The song is a powerful indictment of materialism, a sad confession from the man who is the living embodiment of the American dream. And the line that sums up this tragic irony most perfectly is the one that contrasts his public success with his private pain. Fool, you're a fool, you're a fool, to cry, for you have the world. This is the voice of his own conscience, or perhaps the voice of the outside world, taunting him. How can you be sad? You have everything. You're Elvis Presley. And his answer is simple, because none of it matters. He's a fool for crying, but he can't help it. His pain is real, regardless of his circumstances. The repetition of the word fool is like a self-inflicted wound. He's punishing himself for his own mistakes. It's a devastatingly honest moment. He's admitting that the image the world sees is a lie. The man who has the world is the loneliest man in it, and all the gold in Graceland can't buy back the love he has lost. Number 5, How Do You Carry the Weight of a Nation? An American Trilogy was a medley arranged by Mickey Newbury that combined 3 19th century American songs: Dixie, a Confederate anthem, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, a Union anthem, and All My Trials, a spiritual. Elvis began performing it in 1972, and it quickly became one of the most powerful and emotional moments in his live show. In Elvis's hands, the song was not about the Civil War. It was about healing. It was about reconciliation. It was about bringing together the disparate, often conflicting parts of the American identity into a single unified whole. It was a prayer for peace in a country that was still reeling from the divisions of the 1960s and the ongoing war in Vietnam. The performance was a masterpiece of stagecraft. It would start quietly with Elvis singing the mournful spiritual, and then it would build through the defiant pride of Dixie to the thundering, majestic climax of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, complete with a full orchestra, a gospel choir, and a flute solo mimicking a fife. It was a spectacle, but at its heart, it was a deeply personal and spiritual performance for Elvis. He was a Southern boy who had become an American icon. He embodied both the traditions of the Old South and the promise of a new, unified America. The song was his attempt to make sense of that identity, to find peace in his own divided soul. The most vulnerable and gut-wrenching moment comes at the very beginning, in the quiet, prayer-like opening. Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton, old times there are not forgotten. He sings this line from Ixie, not with defiance or aggression, but with a deep, profound sense of longing. It's a whisper of nostalgia for a simpler time, a lost home, a place that exists more in memory than in reality. Coming from Elvis, a man who had left his simple beginnings far behind to become a global superstar, the line is filled with a heartbreaking poignancy. He's the king, but he's also just a boy from Tupelo, Mississippi, wishing he could go home again, but he knows he can't. That world is gone forever. The line is not a political statement, it's a human one. It's about the universal feeling of nostalgia, the ache for a past that we can never reclaim. And in the context of the larger trilogy, it's the quiet, personal sorrow that gives the song its immense emotional power. Number 4, Can You Find Shelter in Someone Else's Song? Paul Simon wrote Bridge Over Troubled Water as a song of comfort and support, a promise to be there for a friend in need. It became a massive Grammy-winning hit for Simon and Garfunkel in 1970. Later that year, Elvis recorded his own version. And he didn't just cover it, he transformed it. He took Simon's gentle, gospel-infused folk song and turned it into a towering operatic epic. His version is bigger, louder, more dramatic. It's a declaration, not a whisper. Where Art Garfunkel's vocal is pure and angelic, Elvis's is raw and full of a desperate, worldly pain. You know, he wasn't just singing about being a bridge for someone else. He sounded like a man who was desperately searching for a bridge of his own. His live performances of the song were legendary. He would pour every ounce of his being into it, his voice soaring over the orchestra and choir. He seemed to be using the song as a form of therapy, a way to purge his own demons. He was in a period of intense personal turmoil, and the song's message of finding solace and support clearly resonated with him. He was offering comfort to the audience, but he was also pleading for it himself. It was a cry for help and a promise of strength all at once. The entire performance is a roller coaster of emotion, but the moment that truly reveals his own vulnerability is the one where he makes a simple, heartfelt promise. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. When Paul Simon wrote it and Art Garfunkel sang it, the line was a beautiful, selfless metaphor. But when Elvis sings it, it feels literal. Like he sounds so tired, so burdened. The act of laying me down feels less like a gesture of support and more like an act of complete and total sacrifice. He's not just offering a hand, he's offering his entire being. He will become the bridge. He will allow himself to be walked over, to bear the weight of someone else's pain, because he understands that pain so deeply himself. There is a profound weariness in his delivery. He sounds like a man who has seen too much trouble, who has crossed too many turbulent waters. And his only response is to offer himself as a sacrifice, to absorb the pain so that someone else doesn't have to. It's a moment of incredible generosity and heartbreaking sadness. Number 3. What if the person you're singing about is yourself? The Last Farewell was a song written by an English songwriter named Roger Whittaker. It's a song about a soldier leaving his love to go to war, a classic tale of love and separation. The lyrics are full of grand, romantic imagery, the setting sun, the rolling sea, the winds of the tropics. It's a beautiful, epic song. Elvis recorded it in 1976 during the Jungle Room sessions. By this point, he was a man in decline. His health was failing, he was isolated and often depressed. He was, in a very real sense, fighting a losing battle against his own body and his own fame. When he sang this song about a soldier going off to war, it's hard not to hear it as a song about his own impending end. He wasn't a soldier leaving for a physical battlefield. He was a man preparing to leave the world. The song became a metaphor for his own final journey. His voice is still powerful, but there's a new fragility to it, a sense of resignation. He sings the lyrics with a kind of stately, somber dignity. He's not raging against the dying of the light. He's accepting it. He's saying his goodbyes. The song in his hands becomes an elegy for himself. It's a man looking back on his life, on the love he has known, and preparing to sail away for the last time. And the line that feels most like a personal farewell from the king himself is the one that speaks of his own legacy. Though the world is my oyster, it's an empty shell for me. This is a devastatingly sad and honest lyric. It's a direct contradiction of the popular saying. The world is supposed to be full of possibilities, a treasure to be enjoyed. But for him, it's hollow. He has seen it all, done it all, had it all, and it has brought him no peace. The oyster is beautiful on the outside, but inside, where the pearl should be, there is nothing. It's a perfect metaphor for his life in the 70s. The glittering exterior of the Las Vegas shows, the jumpsuits, the adoring crowds, it was all just an empty shell. The real substance, the real joy, was gone. It's a confession of profound disillusionment from a man who, by all outward appearances, had achieved everything. And it's a heartbreaking glimpse into the deep and abiding loneliness that haunted his final years. Number 2, how do you start over when you can't forget the past? Muddy Blue was the title track of Elvis's final studio album, released in 1977. It's an unusual song, a mix of rock, pop, and country that shifts tempo and mood unexpectedly. The lyrics describe a woman who is unpredictable, constantly changing her mind, impossible to understand. 1 minute, she's loving, the next she's cold. She's a mystery, a puzzle the singer can't solve. The song itself is a reflection of this, moving from a slow ballad-like verse to an up-tempo, rocking chorus. On the surface, it's just a clever song about a difficult relationship, but for Elvis, in the last year of his life, it feels like something more. It feels like a song about his own life, his own unpredictable moods, his own internal chaos. He was a man of great contradictions. He was generous and selfish, spiritual and self-destructive, a loving father, and an absent husband. His moods could swing wildly. He was, in many ways, as unpredictable as the woman in the song. The recording is a testament to his professionalism. Even in his poor health, he could still deliver a compelling vocal performance. He sounds engaged, energetic, even playful at times. But Beneath the surface, you can hear the weariness. You can hear a man who is tired of the games, tired of the drama, tired of the constant emotional whiplash. The song is a complaint, a cry of frustration, and the line that best captures this feeling of being trapped in an endless cycle of confusion and pain is the one that describes his own helplessness. Well, I've been from Maine to Mexico to find a place for me to go. This line is about searching for an escape. He has been everywhere, tried everything, but he can't get away from her, from the situation, from the pain. For Elvis, this was literally true. He had traveled the world. He had been to every corner of the country. But he could never escape himself. He could never escape the prison of his own fame. No matter where he went, he was still Elvis Presley. The hotel rooms all looked the same. The crowds were always there. The demands were endless. There was no place for him to go to find peace. The line is a cry of a trapped animal. He's looking for a way out, but every road leads back to the same place. It's a statement of profound, inescapable exhaustion. He's been running his whole life, and he has finally realized that there is nowhere left to run. Number one, can you ever truly go home again? It all comes back to the divorce. It was the central trauma of his adult life, the wound that never fully healed. And no song captures the stark, practical, and heartbreaking reality of that separation better than Separate Ways. We've touched on it before, but the song's most devastating line deserves its own place at the top of this list. It's a song about two people trying to do the right thing, trying to be adults in an impossible situation. They are trying to protect their child from the fallout of their own failed love. The song is quiet, somber, and filled with a sense of mature, shared sadness. It's the antithesis of a dramatic, angry breakup song. It's about the cold, hard logistics of dismantling a family. Elvis sings it with a heartbreaking sense of realism. This is not a performance. This is a man working through his own grief, trying to make sense of his new reality. He's not the king. He's not a rock and roll star. He's just a father and a husband watching his world fall apart. The song is a conversation, a series of painful negotiations. How do we do this? How do we move forward? It's a song about the sad, unglamorous work of ending a marriage. And in the middle of this quiet, sad discussion, there is one line that cuts through all the emotion and lays bare the cold, practical truth of the situation. It's a line about a house no longer being a home. I'll just take the kids and go, and you can have the home. He changes the lyric in his version. The original lyric was, you can have the baby. But Elvis, ever protective of his own daughter, changes it to the kids. But the sentiment is the same, and it's absolutely brutal. It reduces the entire history of their relationship, their shared life, their family, to a simple transactional division of assets. You take this, I'll take that. The home is no longer a place of warmth and love. It's just a piece of property, a thing to be divided up. And the casual way he says, I'll just take the kids and go, is so chilling. It's a man trying to be practical, trying to be strong, but in doing so, he reveals the depth of his own pain. The family has been broken into its component parts, a house, a mother, a father, a child, and they are all now going their separate ways. It's the saddest, most gut-wrenching lyric in his entire 70s catalog because it's not poetic, it's just true. And sometimes the truth is the most painful thing of all.